TANC gets played, fellas. Yeah. So that there is the Asia Pacific, the EMEA, and the Americas bracket. So we have here the grand finals of TANC Americas number 9, the first one of the first season. On the bottom left, it is gonna be our friend TheoRy as the Infernals. And this is a rematch of the Season 0 Grand Finals that happened just last week, because his opponent is none other than Mixu, one of the highest Vanguard players potentially. I think this would be an interesting statistics, but I think outside of potentially Lucifron, Mixu is the highest ranked Vanguard player. At the very least, the highest placing Vanguard player when it comes to TANC at this point. So that is very much a good result for him. And this is, of course, a best of 5 series. And we're into game number 1. And the map chosen was Titan Causeway. This is something we noted earlier today on the Asia Pacific and quite a bit more on the EMEA bracket, but a number of experienced players are opting to play Titan Causeway and things like even Jagged Maw over what would be considered, it's crazy to call it that given that it is a beta and stuff like that, but more traditional maps like Secluded Grove and Broken Crown. That honor has to go to Nina? Yeah. There has been a lot of innovation from a lot of players from a lot of Vanguard players specifically in trying to break the mold on how to play against Infernals, on how to play against other Vanguard players as well. And I think over the course of the last few weeks, we've seen more and more Vanguard players. Oh my goodness, Mixu GG's out. That is a surprising game 1. I was not ready for a GG there. But Mixu calls it, and he's going to give the game 1 to TheoRy. And decides to just go Secluded next. Will not even entertain the idea. So we're going to go ahead and report the result, at least for game number 1. And we're going to be heading to Secluded Grove next. I guess, yeah. I guess Mixu was not ready for a Titan Causeway aggressive push. Mixu definitely didn't play on EMEA, which was much more Titan Causeway dominated. People were playing it a lot. And so maybe he's lacking a little bit of experience with the map and didn't quite feel like he had what he needed. So let's go ahead and update the score then for TheoRy, who is up 1. Oh, score. There we go. Yeah. So we'll have to see what game number 2 brings here with TheoRy starting bottom left as our Infernal player, the reigning champion of TANC, facing off against Mixu on game number 2 here in Secluded Grove. We just finished Titan Causeway, and Mixu's strategy was countered pretty effectively by TheoRy in such a way that Mixu didn't even go for an engagement. He GG'd out at the moment he saw the writing on the wall that perhaps going Hedgehogs first and salvaging the barracks was not going to be the play. Perhaps he didn't feel like Titan Causeway was a good map for him, so he decides to take the L on the first game. It is a best of 5 after all, so maybe you can afford to lose 1 game and then recover from it. It wouldn't be the first time. On that season's final, Mixu also lost the first game, I believe. or maybe, yes, he lost the first game, and then he recovered for the second game. So this could be just a natural progression of what happens when you're feeling a little bit off against an opponent. But it is definitely interesting given that Mixu just faced, before this series, another Infernal player in MSRM. So it's not like he's lacking in tactics and strategy or the familiarity with what Infernal players are going to be doing. Perhaps he just doesn't know it quite well on Titans, but we're here in Secluded. And Secluded is much more of a tested map, shall we say. Many strategies have been found and made. There's been, for quite a while, the scout opening with a barracks, and you start pumping out scouts to overwhelm your opponent. From there, a lot of people have also seen and chosen a more Lancer-heavy opening, where you try to overwhelm your opposition with that, but usually you would seal off your base when you started production. Mixu instead is opting for an open base design. No turrets yet either, which makes it a little bit open to some aggression early if TheoRy wanted to have that. Good micro to keep the Fiend alive. I'm guessing the healing camp is going to be one of the next few after the speed camp over here. That'll push forward onto his opponent on that side. Conclave going down. Conclave just finished. So it is a triple Conclave opening overall. No brutes on the field whatsoever for the side of TheoRy. So he's banking on those guns being able to make a difference. Maybe the Doombringer drops will be able to do something. Biokinetics Lab and 2 barracks will tell us that this is probably going to be very heavy on the Lancers. And we'll have to see one of the places to spot. One of the places to keep an eye on during the next few minutes is going to be this health camp. The key reason for it is that if you're able to dominate the health camp with a few Lancers, you're going to be able to engage your opponent quite strongly. And we see that TheoRy knows that. He goes for the health camp early. And he decides, you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm going to start the cooldown as soon as possible. Even if I'm not going to make use of it. Just so that Mixu doesn't have access to it later in the game. So we're going to be seeing a Doombringer drop coming up in just a few minutes. And we'll see Mixu's respond to it. At the moment, Mixu has to realize that a drop is going to be coming soon. And we'll see his response to it. Here it goes. No vision cam for the side of Mixu, so he's not going to be seeing this coming anytime soon. The barracks are not complete, and what is Mixu doing? He's pulling off his workers. Oh, but this is gonna get spotted, and TheoRy recalls, but he could have absolutely nailed this. Oh, this could have been spotted. It was spotted. So TheoRy has all the chances to reply to it, but we can see now that the Lancer's power, and what I was talking about the healing camp. So TheoRy wants to have the engagement as far away from the healing camp as possible, just to make the Lancers have to walk all the way out for that one. The guns come down to try and keep this up, but obviously the Lancers with kinetic redirection are so good at killing things here. The guns are going to chase off. The guns on the Doombringer are also going to chase off, but they don't have the speed to deny this. And Mixu is going for that middle base no matter what, it seems. Pushing very hard into it. Meanwhile, TheoRy is scouting up north. And now going to open up the other side. So this is Mixu going on an incredibly aggressive stance. Opening up the base not only on his side, but on his opponent's side as well. In come the gun drop. Some repairs are going to be happening here. But this is a big drop to be happening. The Lancers are not in a good position. And now they get away. Only the Fiends remain. And they'll actually get away too. So what is TheoRy gonna do about this? Clearly, he's gonna be disadvantaged base-wise. And in terms of positioning, the middle base is very powerful. If the idea is to have a couple of medtechs, get artillery like the Atlases going. And your drops are gonna be good, but look at the amount of Lancers now here on this engagement. This could be very bad for TheoRy, as the Lancers filter their way in. They're going to be attacking indiscriminately anything that moves that has a blue tint on it. One Sharpstone Tower is engaging the Lancers, and Manifestation goes down to try and get rid of the rest, but this is a very strong fight for Mixu. If he manages this correctly, could be very costly for the side of TheoRy, as he loses one of the conclaves that is going up. Oh, and that is an incredible... Oh, what a split by Mixu. Only one dead. But many are endangered. And a few Lancers are going to get caught off guard. And the Lancers do end up falling behind now. But the splits by Mixu were really, really strong. Another Inflamed is going to go down. The Doombringer is around here. He doesn't have any load on it, however. Oh, and the Engulf. What a heads-up play by Mixu. To use a damaged Lancer as a target for the Inflamed Imps. Another one goes down, but those Gaunts are going to be in a lot of trouble. Mixu is trying as hard as possible to survive these Flaming Imps. And he's doing a great job at it. He's losing only 1 or 2 Lancers to it. But the Lancers don't have infinite health. They might have kinetic redirection, but that is not kinetic nullification. They will eventually go down to the Flaming Imps and the Fiends, and has to pull back to his base. Those are a rough fight for Mixu to win it, and it required a lot from TheoRy too. It wasn't just TheoRy moving forward and pressing A. It needed quite a lot of work to be done to be able to get the proper attack going. On then the middle of the fight, more Inflamed Imps moving on, getting the Exos, and a clean kill on the Exos is a very unfortunate result for Mixu. And this is an engagement after engagement. We have not seen the bases of these players in a while, because they are just going back and forward in the middle of the map, and who's going to be getting control over this area is hard to say at this moment. Mixu is investing a lot, 3 barracks, even overcharged now, into keeping his base alive. There are, unfortunately, a bunch of bombs die, and unfortunately there were no ramparts in this area to be able to protect the buildings with their special ability, which meant that, unfortunately, that is going to go down, and TheoRy taps out. He sees that there are 3 bases, he's not able to break it through with the Flaming Imps. Oh, and TheoRy decides, let's go 1-1. Let's make it 1-1. Let's go ahead and report this game as Mixu. Going 1-1 now. We'll have our map in a moment, and we'll see what comes of it. We're going back. Oh boy. Mixu's gonna have PTSD after this one. We're heading back to the Titan Causeway. We are heading back to the Titan Causeway. Well, this time, will Mixu adapt to the opening from TheoRy? Will he play it more conservatively? What will Mixu do at this time? We'll wait and see, as we're headed 1-1 into the next one. I'm gonna wait for our players to come through as I update the Wikipedia bracket too. So the third one was Titan Causeway. Into Secluded Grove, into Titan once again. And we're there in Titan Causeway. Once more for game number 3, we have TheoRy on the bottom left, Mixu on the top right. The series is 1-1, fellas. With just a fantastic Secluded Grove where Mixu absolutely nailed his build order. He got control over the center of the map, was able to make the most of the resources that he had, and he was determined to keep his opponents away and keep him busy. But now it is Titan Causeway. The last time that we saw these two players here, it was all on the side of TheoRy. It didn't even look like a fight when Mixu decided to tap out. Mixu thought about going with a barracks into hedgehogs, but it seems like he had a miscalculation and ended up having to tap out. He knew that he wouldn't have the resources necessary to make it work. Now instead opts for a double barracks opening. This might be a heavy scouts opening. If that is the case, he could make it work without an expansion necessarily. And there is a lot of room for him to have units here. So we'll see what comes out of the barracks. It is a Lancer, so it will be a Lancer opening. TheoRy wants to try and deny the speed camp, and we'll see if he's able to do it. So the scout is trying to munch at the heels of the gun. That is the best target that he could have for it. And the speed camp is almost denied, but not entirely. Mixu will pull back. He doesn't have the manpower to actually deny anything here. The fiends are up. TheoRy got the full Luminite from it, and now it's onto the vision camp on the side of Mixu that could then feed on through to establish dominance over the right side of the map. And there he goes. TheoRy taking the vision camp as well. And what does Mixu do here? He is pulling out more Lancers. It is a strategy that has been proven to work, to push through, get kinetic redirection, and start damaging your opponent as much as possible. The Gaunts are gonna die here. They're gonna be sacrificed to the Lancers so that Mixu doesn't continue to push forward for a continuum. Instead, TheoRy is going for an expansion. The problem is that Mixu seems uninterested in expanding his base, so he's just building more. And he's actually going for the mech bay now. So it seems like he's going to be making the transition to hedgehogs this very moment. Good little pool there. And now TheoRy has to sustain this. The Shroudstone is not going to complete. He does cancel it in time and he's able to save the Imp as another meat farm and another Shroudstone, but this one could go down on one hit. He has to be very careful there. He doesn't get to cancel it. The one meat farm is gonna go down full and square, as well as a Shroudstone tower. There's a number of resources that are gonna be gone now. Here in the middle, we see a sentry post being built. It is gonna be a repair-matic in just a second, as soon as it's finished, to keep the hedgehogs alive. And now TheoRy sees the hedgehog. He knows that it is out on the field. This is not just a Lancer mix-up. It contains a little bit of Nitrum with the hedgehogs on the field. It is a big trade here. It is going a little bit better for, I was gonna say TheoRy, but it certainly looks like Mixu is on the back foot. Is this the Weaver game? We'll see, we'll see. It could be a good Weaver play to try and get the kill on the Hedgehogs, pull them in. We'll see if Weavers come out in due time. For his part, Mixu is now thinking about expanding, I believe. There is the overcharge, and he'll expand on the back of this. There are a good number of Hedgehogs now out on the field with 4 or 3. Target focusing the guns and the brutes. If he gets the heal camp, that would be a very good position to have, but you're also very much cut off from reinforcements here with that health camp. You don't have an easy way to bring more units into the scene with this one. Expansion goes up, and now they're 1-1. Both players have 2 bases. Good split on the Brood. Great split on the Brood. It's gonna keep the Fiends nice and healthy, but the Shroud's manifestation is fantastic on the side of TheoRy. It completely splits the army and keeps the Hedgehogs away. And now the Lancers are gonna have a tough ask trying to break through that. More Hedgehogs getting made. What could it be here? The Hedgehogs. Oh, the Hedgehogs are slower than the Fiends. They're not capable of surviving this, and they're gonna get cornered. Mixu is going to lose one of his Hedgehogs onto that fight, and the Lancers are gonna kill the Shroudstone, but again, the split has been made. Will the Lancers get into the Luminite line? They will, and they'll start to get a couple of kills. Disrupt the economy as much as possible. And now the fight is moving the way on the healing camp, but I think TheoRy is going to be able to surround this and make short work of it. You can see the number of Fiends that are now attacking the Lancers, and sure, they're healing up, but the damage is much greater than whatever they are healing. Mixu is going to need to start preparing something big here. Gets another mech bay. Has a couple of bombs. A bomb that was idle for a second. And on the other side, TheoRy has a big army. This is gonna be a defensive masterclass from Mixu at this very moment if he wants to stay within the game. Because TheoRy has a huge amount of Fiends, a good amount of guns, and 1 Brute that is gonna be making its way onto Mixu's base. He's building a biokinetics lab, he's building the mech labs, but where is the army? He's actually going for a 3rd expansion, but look at this. This is what's coming for Mixu. And he doesn't have anything to defend at home. If TheoRy realizes this, it's going to be very bad. Oh, he's going to see the 3rd, but there comes the engagement. The Fiends are attacking all of the mobs that were building that central command, and the GG. Oh, Mixu GG's out. Probably with a little bit of rage. That didn't sound like a GG of somebody that, you know, was feeling quite good about that game. They just didn't seal the deal. It is going to be TheoRy taking game number 3 and putting himself on match point. The chat bug? Oh, it could be. It could be. Hopefully it is that. So now TheoRy is on match point. So let's go ahead and let's see if they end up on Secluded Grove or what map they'll be choosing. Indeed, it is gonna be Secluded Grove for game number 4. It is match point for TheoRy. So let's go ahead and update on Wikipedia as well before we head proper into the match. So we're in Secluded Grove once more with TheoRy on the bottom left playing as the Infernals. He is on match point. If he wins this map, he will be the America's 9 tank winner. And on the other side is Mixu, who is 2 games away from taking that title. But of course, he has to win here, and then he has to win the next game. And if we look at previous trends, it does happen to be that although Mixu can absolutely win on Secluded Grove and look very good doing so, the next map, Titan Causeway, will always cause trouble for the Finnish player. So he probably wants to finish it out here. We'll see if TheoRy has something cooking to be able to win over Mixu. Maybe he thought about some changes that he could be doing in Secluded Grove to maximize his potential when it comes to dealing with that third base that Mixu was so very eager to take, to control, to push forward with. Expansion immediately goes up for the side of Mixu. You can see Mixu fearless, just going expansion first, not even a barracks, not even nothing. Just the base immediately onto the field. Well, his TheoRy is grabbing the speed camps. Great job by the scout as well on the side of Mixu, grabbing all of the little Luminite and Therium plants that are out into the map, checking every little corner for them. You may think that, 20 Luminite, 10 Therium, it's not a lot, but it is absolutely a beautiful amount of resources when you're this early into the game. It can allow you to build structures much quicker than you would otherwise been able to. For example, a barracks, a double barracks opening to get those lancers out into the field. There is a cut through here for the side of TheoRy. He's going to go for both resource camps and potentially for the extra speed camp on the other side. He knows that his opponent is not going to be going for that. Scout versus Gaunt. It's a big fight, but the Fellhawk comes out just in time to protect the little Gaunt fella. And are we gonna see a cut through? It seems like we are. There goes the Imp. And now we hit speed camp. Gonna lose a couple of fiends, but it is gonna be a good amount with a lot of speed too. And the Imp is following through. The Imp could end up creating a Shroud Stone, perhaps. Something. There's also the Heal Camp and the Vision Camp have not been taken yet. Those are juicy targets for somebody like TheoRy to get vision over his opponent's map. You can see all of the brutes that are advancing forward. This could be very dangerous. In goes the Imp that immediately goes into a Shroud Stone, but he gets killed. He doesn't even get a few little bits of health. He immediately dies to it. Turret goes up into the boss dog cannon, and what a defense by Mixu. Perfectly coordinated. Kill the Shroud Stone immediately. Get the boss dog cannon going. The overdrive is doing its work here to get another tower up where he's going to put another boss dog cannon. And now aiming at the Gaunts. Getting the kills on the Gaunts is the most important. Very aggressive on the side of TheoRy. It's a big fight, but it's not a fight that he can win at the moment. Look at the bounces, creating so much chaos for TheoRy, who sure gets into the main, but what do you do with the main? You have a bunch of mobs here, and they're going to be able to cut through you, even without overdrive. The Fiends are trying to get a couple more kills, particularly in the infest mobs. It is economic damage against Mixu, but it's not like TheoRy has an economy back to say that, at the very least, he's equalizing the prospects of the economy with the Luminites and the Therium, but nothing more than that. And you can see the number of Lancers that are pulling out, and TheoRy, GG's out. We're going to a game number 5 between TheoRy and Mixu, as both players exchange their strategies. And if I had to guess to where we're going for game number 5, I would put my money on Titan Causeway. Let's go ahead and update that on Wikipedia too. We're going to game number 5 between these two players. They've been duking it out every single moment. And it is indeed Titan Causeway. Let's join with the ID. And let's update the score. There we go. And this is gonna do it, fellas. This is game number 5. The last game of this week. It is gonna be between TheoRy on the bottom left here in Titan Causeway against Mixu on the top right. Playing as the Vanguard. And this is, if there ever was a map where Mixu needed to find something to give him the advantage, something to protect them against TheoRy, it must be this map. There are no other maps after this. The tournament is over. It is the 5th game of this series, of this final series. So what can Mixu do against TheoRy's fantastic Infernal opening in Titan Causeway? In what way can Mixu disrupt what TheoRy has been cooking? We've seen adaptations. Game number 1 was on Titan Causeway, and in there, it wasn't even 7 minutes that Mixu decided to throw in the towel and call it GG. For the second one, we ended up getting a little bit further forward. Mixu was even tempted to take a third before he was overwhelmed and pulled back, eventually GGing out. And now that it is the 3rd time going into Titan Causeway, what can Mixu do against TheoRy? How far will he manage to get into the build order that TheoRy is quite content in having? Mixu is gonna try to disrupt the creeping here, but he won't be able to. All of the resources, by the looks of it, ended up going to the side of TheoRy anyway. But what will be the idea, Mixu? What will you do differently? Because TheoRy is more than happy to do the exact same thing that worked before. Go for the speed camp, the siege camp, the speed camp, the vision camp. Get more fiends out into the field. And then push. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't break Mixu, then he can do Doombringer drops to finish the job. Lancers here are well positioned, however. They could get a kill on the Gaunt. One of them dies very early on the fight. The other 2 Gaunts are dead. The other 2 Fiends are dead, I mean. And now the Lancers are pushing forward. And this has been the opening that kept Mixu alive for quite a while, to just go full Lancers and try to sustain himself. But will he try to go with the Hedgehogs again? Is that the right call? It seems like he will. He has a mech bay going. He will be putting on some Hedgehogs out into the field, but the last time they were impactful, but not necessarily a way to win. We'll have to see what he decides to do. In the meantime, he could be going, and then he's going for the healing camp on his side of the map. He could also go for the vision camp on his side of the map. That would be a good idea, as TheoRy does that himself, taking out the vision camp first and pushing forward. He will scout that there is no natural expansion for Mixu yet, and we'll have to see. Apologies. We'll have to see how he responds to that. He knows that Mixu is on one base, so a Doombringer drop onto the main could be devastating at this time. Especially one against Ethereum. Could be very, very powerful. Im's getting moved into the natural now, and a lot of defensive positioning. With Shroudstone towers, with good Gaunt units. And this time around, it's not even like there are enough Lancers hidden away on the health camp to be a threat. This is gonna have to be a frontal engagement by Mixu, but it's probably not gonna be a good one. It gets the Shroudstone tower to cancel twice and make it thrice, but it will have to pull back eventually. TheoRy buys himself enough time. The question is, what is Mixu trying to cook up here? He has a natural expansion, finally. And he actually salvages the mech bay. So he's not going to be going into more hedgehogs. He's going to transition out of the hedgehogs now into what? Is he going to go for another expansion? That is quite greedy by Mixu, but could it be the play? To go into a triple expansion, get 3-4 barracks going, heavily increase your supply, try to get more Lancers out into the field, perhaps a couple of Exos, some Medtechs, and play it as a bio ball. Good positional engagement on the side of Mixu here. He is able to get the most of the camp, but the Shroudstone manifestation is going to push him off. It is too much damage for him to sustain, and now he has to pull back. But the problem is, if TheoRy decides to push here, if TheoRy decides that it is time to end this, he could very well end this. Overcharge goes forth, double barracks comes down, and now it's all about timing. When those 3 barracks are fully operational, they will be able to produce a lot of units. And on 3 bases, Mixu is going to be able to output a huge amount of troops to face off against TheoRy. But the question is, can this small army of Mixu sustain itself until that is possible? Can the small army keep everybody safe until the big army comes around? Checks for a third, doesn't see it. He knows that he's up 1 base now. How can you maximize your return on that? How can you make it so that you naturally win this? As there is a Doombringer drop hidden away. Look at that. Just hidden away, waiting for his opponent to pass up. But it will get scouted by the Vision Camp. So Mixu knows. He knows that something is coming. But I don't think TheoRy knows that the 3rd base is up and running here. A number of Bobs are being transitioned from one to the other. Maybe that'll be a telltale. The Imps go through. They catch a couple of Bobs, but nothing that I would call absolutely substantial at this moment. The Lancers do a good job resisting the attack. And sure, a few Bobs have died, but there's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. And back it goes into here. Look at this expansion that Mixu has caught a wind of on the 4th. That is very far away from TheoRy's base, and it is in fact through a cut through, but it's not gonna be good enough. Thankfully, it doesn't discover the 3rd expansion of Mixu, and so it could be that TheoRy is working under the assumption that his opponent is on 2 bases, whereas he was going up to a 4th. The 3rd is now going to be operational for the side of TheoRy, so the advantage that Mixu had going before is not going to be there for much longer. Mixu has to be thinking about where his next expansion is going to be, and it could, quite honestly, be on this low ground. The problem is that you'll probably need the Vision Camp first, and then it's going to be quite a messy fight to keep control of it. More units now pumping up from the barracks as more barracks get added on to it. The Imp in Flame is huge. It gets a bunch of Imp, it gets a bunch of Bobs, as well as the Hedgehog that was acting as anti-air. So TheoRy is feeling quite good about it. Oh, and he found the 3rd base. TheoRy knows very well that there is a 3rd base going up there. Mixu is gonna feel the squish now. There is a meat farm on that. 3rd expansion here. They're gonna cut through and they're gonna open up the stage for Ethereum here and a natural expansion over on this side. So this is quite a problem for Mixu now, to try and secure another base as soon as possible, because this one is gonna be threatened, and I think this is a very bad position for Mixu. Overcharge goes up to try and keep the Bobs alive as much as possible. Army's having to pull back through the middle and try to engage this, but look at the amount. The expansion is almost definitely gonna go down, but no, the Rampart just in time to protect it, give it shields. It's not a perfect shield, but keep it alive for now. And Weavers, since everybody was talking about it, Weavers are now out onto the field for TheoRy. But look at TheoRy's expansion. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases, pretty much. 5 real and 6 that could be. And we'll have to see if that's enough. Mixu going out, hitting the speed camp on the side of TheoRy, and sending a few Lancers to act as scouts. And a big fight coming here. Shoutstone gets denied. Big fight with Hellborns. They hit their targets and the Inflames are going through. Massive amount of Inflame. Great splits. Look at those splits from Mixu. Absolutely brilliant stuff to keep everybody alive there in this fight as the Imps continue to harass. Oh, great snipes too. Mixu played that beautifully. It wasn't a victory, but it certainly wasn't a defeat, which is exactly how Mixu is playing at the moment. He needs to have as many victories as possible. However, so now we enter the middle side of the game. And we'll have to see what Mixu is able to do here. Immediately the news gets around that Mixu is trying to get a 4th expansion. It's gonna get spotted immediately and pushed off. Cancelled outright. This is not good news for Mixu. He's probably not feeling quite well at the moment, just because of how much map space his opponent TheoRy has. Big splits for TheoRy. It seems like he wants to check every little corner now for any expansion that might be going down. I think he'll see this. He'll definitely see the Bobs and engage the Bobs. They will try to skirt away, but oh, one of the Bobs might give him away. It does. It is now time for TheoRy to munch on the little Bobs over on this side, as they are unable to escape. Oh, when the Fiends surround the turret in such a way that the Bobs cannot heal it. It does get salvaged, but now the Fiends are going to be attacking the Bobs, who are all infested thanks to the global ability of the Infernals. They're going to be creating a couple more. And there is also some Imp getting destroyed here. Look at that. More Imps are pushing forward with the Enflame and the Hellborns. And you don't need Flaming Imps if you have this type of Hellborns that are just so good at hitting their targets, pushing forward, and making it so hard for the Vanguard player. Now the Infest is just continually going. Oh, what a match. It is gonna be GG very soon, I think, as TheoRy's army of Hellborn continues to roll over into Mixu's base. There is a Weaver in the middle of all of this, and an effigy goes down to keep the white health up. And on it starts with Hellborns. They need to target fire the correct units. Evacs are moving forward. They have an Atlas. There is an Atlas in the field, but the Weaver is ever threatening. It only takes 1 second for that Weaver to grab it, and Mixu says GG. It is gonna be a 3-2 result in favor of TheoRy, who repeats the win